तस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषये नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूष सर्ववेदैकसत्फल सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्प्रद सर्वभागवतप्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्षाक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु मे मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारकमद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तु ते असाधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक हानमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णा रथकण्ठयोः स्फुर। श्रीमद्भागवत महापुराण की Hare Krishna. So today we have the last session of this unit, and we will end this chapter 13 that we are studying. So till now we have seen in chapter 13 Vidura's arrival at the Hastinapur palace, reception by Yudhishthir Maharaj, and then his instructions, Vidura's instructions to Dhritarashtra, very strong instructions on the renunciation, because that was the singular purpose with which he came for, to get Dhritarashtra out of this cozy comfort life at palace and inspire him to the path of spiritual life. So Vidura gave those very powerful instructions by which Dhritarashtra was inspired, and avidnyat gatihi, without telling anything to anyone, he just left to Himalayas. And his chaste and devoted wife Gandhari also followed him to the Himalaya regions, which is the delight of those who hold the staff of renunciation. So after this, Yudhishthir, coming to know that his uncles, that is Vidura and Dhritarashtra, as well as aunt Gandhari Devi is not there, so he very much became afflicted with distress. He was feeling a great separation from them. Because of his own virtuous attitude, he indeed had a very genuine feeling about them. And at such an old age, in such a helpless condition, they have left the home. So Yudhishthir was feeling greatly concerned for them, and really his heart was melting in compassion for them. So yesterday we saw that he approached Sanjaya Gaval Gane, and he started inquiring him about where have his uncles and his aunt have gone. He even thought that was it that they felt greatly distressed because all their sons were killed by Yudhishthir, and that's why they just wanted to end their life by falling into the Ganges, by throwing themselves in the Ganges. You know? So Yudhishthir was conjecturing like that, and he very well knew about the great suffering that they had undergone to lose all their children, all their sons, especially in this war of Kurukshetra. So it was always in his mind that he has done a great injustice to them. And that's why when they were not seen, he obviously started thinking that they have left because they were highly displeased with him, and they just want that they should end their life by drowning in the Ganges. So this is text 34, one more question or one more statement by Yudhishthir, and then Sanjaya speaks. This is 34. Pitaryuparate Pandau Sarvanah Surada Shishun Arakshatam Vesanatah Pitruvyo Kva Gatavitah. When my father Pandu fell down and we were all small children, these two uncles gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always our good well-wishers. Alas, where have they gone from here? So he is remembering when his father Yudhishthir is remembering that when his father Pandu had disappeared, he had left the world. So then he was taken care by Vidura, especially, and of course their needs were provided by Dhritarashtra also. Although Dhritarashtra schemed also to kill them, to do evils to them, in terms of, we have seen all that, trying to burn them in Lakshagraha or administering poison to Bhima, and in that particular manner. So, but he is remembering the good part they have done to them, especially what Dhritarashtra, how he maintained them, how he took care of their necessities. So he is remembering how Vidura and Dhritarashtra protected us when our father had departed, and today where have they gone? Suta uvacha कृपया स्नेहवैक्लव्यात् सूतो विरह कर्षितः आत्मेश्वरमचक्षाणो न प्रत्याहति पीडितः. Sud Goswami said, because of compassion and mental agitation, Sanjaya, not having seen his own master, Dhritarashtra was aggrieved and could not properly reply to Maharaj Yudhishthir. So this Suta, this Sanjaya, was a very trusted minister of Dhritarashtra, always stayed at his side and was a great well-wisher of Dhritarashtra. So because he had a great affection for his master Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra had left without telling anything to Sanjaya, so he felt a great separation, he felt a great mental agitation from his master, Viraha Karshitaha. And because he could not see him, Achakshano, that is, he saw that they had left without informing anything, especially when he was sleeping that time. So he could not even speak. So much was he distressed that words couldn't enter, words couldn't come out of his mouth. Although, Yudhishthir was asking this particular question to him. So he could not properly reply. That was his separation that he was feeling from his master, like that. And he was not aware of this whole thing, that how Vidura had enlightened and inspired Dhritarashtra to leave the home. So he was just bewildered at what has happened, where have they gone, and he was also concerned about them. So that's how, he was feeling much aggrieved for them, like that. Prabhupada says in purport that he didn't know that Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had left out of cheerfulness, because they were very much inspired by Vidura's instructions. So Prabhupada says this point, that this is last line of the purport. Unless one is convinced of a better life after renunciation of the present life, one cannot stick to the renounced order of life simply by artificial dress or staying out of the home. So this is a very important consideration for those who want to take up to the life of renunciation, right? Life of renunciation is not for just being irresponsible, or for just being frustrated with family life, so leaving and having a nice peaceful time uh, at life of renunciation. But actually one should be convinced of a better life after renunciation, he is saying. Means one should be completely focused on the goal of life for which one is accepting renunciation. That is the goal of Krishna consciousness, goal of devotional service and pleasing the Supreme Lord. So otherwise renunciation will only be very temporary. There is bhoga, where one wants to enjoy the senses, enjoy the material world, and when one is frustrated in that attempt, he goes to tyaga. So that kind of renunciation will not sustain. But unless one is attracted with the positive service and positive attractions of spiritual life, Krishna's Naam, Roop, Guna, Leela, and Seva, so one's renunciation will not sustain, even though one may artificially don the robes of a renunciate, but then actually what will happen is he may not sustain unless he has a positive attraction for this. So one has to work on this by putting himself in right association. So Sanjaya spoke. Vimrujja Shrunipaniabhyam Vishtabhyatmanamaatmana Ajata Shatrum Pratyuche Prabhopada Vanusmaran. First, he slowly pacified his mind by intelligence, and wiping away his tears and thinking of the feet of his master, Dhritarashtra, he began to reply to Maharaj Yudhishthira. So he wiped away his tears that he was feeling great distress because his master was not there. And pacifying his mind by his intelligence, he spoke these words to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Sanjaya Uvacha, Naham Veda Vyavasitam Pitrorvah Kula Nandana Gandharyava Mahabaho Mushitosmi Mahatmabhi. Sanjaya said, my dear descendant of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari. O king, I have been cheated by those great souls. So Sanjay spoke very clearly because he didn't know what was the plan of his uncles. So he said, Naham Veda Vyavasitam. With what resolve, with what determination, what have they done? I don't know. Pitro Vahakula Nandana. Gandharya va Mahabaho. And I don't know the plan of, what was decided by even Gandhari, because even she is not there. So I am Mushitosme Mahatmabhi. I am literally cheated by them. I am cheated by these great souls. Why am I cheated? He is saying, because I am cheated that they didn't tell me where they have gone, or neither they did take me with them. So from that angle, he is saying that I am cheated by them. I mean, whenever somebody, some separation is there, or somebody leaves without leaving, so this kind of feeling is there that, they never told me anything. I have been cheated by them. Vanchitosmi, she also says Devahuti, and also Arjuna says also when Lord Krishna left that, right? He also says that, Vanchitosmi Harina Bandhurupina, he says. Vanchitoham Maharaja Harina Bandhurupina, he says there also. So then they didn't inform me anything, and they have left me here forlorn and alone, so that's why he was lamenting. Prabhupada's purport on this verse is amazing purport, one of the amazing purports in which he has put this amazing statement of, this is purport's first line. That great souls cheat others may be astonishing to know, but it is a fact that great souls cheat others for a great cause. So this is a famous statement from Prabhupada, right? It is a fact that great souls cheat others for a great cause. So just as he is saying here, Vanchitosmi, or rather Moshitosmi, so it is seen that sometimes great souls, they do cheat others by not informing them about their plans, especially their plans to surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, take to the spiritual life fully, you know. So we see that sometimes this kind of thing is there, that without informing anybody anything, the person just leaves for the sake of spiritual life. Like even Maharaj Ang, the father of Vena, he also left like that, you know, very very still really without informing anything. And that's in fact avidyat gatihi. We saw that word before. So that's a kind of perfectly all right thing, especially it has to be understood in proper context, where it is done for satisfaction of the Lord, you know. Prabhupada is giving example where great people cheat for a great cause. And what is that great cause? He says that that great cause is satisfaction of the Lord. This is third line. Satisfaction of the Lord is the criterion of one who is bona fide. And the highest perfection of life is to satisfy the Lord by one's occupational duty. So for satisfaction of the Lord, if apparently somebody does, so to say, a cheating, that's a justified thing like that. But one should understand that this is done by great souls. One should not assume that he is a great soul, you know. See, this is more to understand the actions of great souls rather than to imitate and say that great souls cheat for a great cause, so I also cheat. But who told that you are a great soul? You know, right? So we should know. We shouldn't assume that we are great souls, and that's why we can also cheat. But what is the point here? The point here is that sometimes in order to surrender unto the Lord's lotus feet, a great devotee may adopt some means which may appear like a cheating. Like here Prabhupada gives example of Sanatan Goswami bribing the jailkeeper to leave so that he can join in Krishna, in Lord Chaitanya's service. So this is a great cause actually, for which even if he did something like bribing the jailkeeper, it's perfect and it's most justified. Or Yudhishthir Maharaj telling a lie before Dronacharya, saying Ashwatthama Hato Narova Kunjirova. You know, he said that Ashwatthama is dead, although he was referring to an elephant, you know, like that. So, but it was perceived in that particular manner, you know. So Yudhishthir spoke that particular thing with a clear intention that it will be perceived as Ashwatthama is dead rather than an elephant named Ashwatthama. So, but this is justified. Why is that? Because it was for Lord's pleasure. It was directly under Lord's instructions. So sometimes when the Lord or the devotees, I mean the representatives of Lord like Guru, when they instruct us to do something for the sake of service of the Lord, and by outward circumstances, by worldly standards, it may appear like it's a cheating thing. But if it is approved by Lord and Guru, then that actually becomes a great service, and that is not to be condemned, you know, like that. So this principle has to be very carefully applied. That is a very important point. Sometimes we see that there is a great resistance of family members to for a particular person to join Krishna consciousness movement full time, and at such times the effort should be to do the whole effort in a very sensitive manner. We do care about the sentiments of parents and sentiments of the society, relatives. So actually it's very important that the utmost care is taken so that the radical decision of joining Krishna consciousness movement full time doesn't gives them minimum distress. It is going to give some distress to them. It is unavoidable, but at least we are very sensitive. We have those humane considerations by which we understand that let us try to cause as less grief as possible, like that. But sometimes the situation is so complex, and even if somebody has to take a radical decision under the guidance, very important, under the guidance of Guru and Krishna, so that is something which is considered justified, and it is not to be condemned, saying that this is cheating. he had cheated his parents, or he had cheated the relative, cheated the society. No. So if it's done under proper instruction and for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna, so then that particular thing is cheating for a great cause, like that. So Prabhupada says this, summarizes towards the end of the paragraph, saying, to satisfy the Lord, anything is good, for it is in relation with the absolute truth. We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members. Prabhupada is speaking about his sannyas. We also had the same opportunity to cheat the family members and leave home to engage in the service of Srimad Bhagavatam. See, this is amazing. So I mean, in one way, worldly standard, Prabhupada cheated his family members and left. But what a cheating that is! That is the most glorious cheating, because he has done such a incomparable service to the whole world. Such unprecedented service to the whole world. So that's why Prabhupada says, last line, such cheating was necessary for a great cause, and there is no loss for any party in such transcendental fraud. So, very eloquent words, extremely well said by Prabhupada, everything. There is no loss for any party in such transcendental fraud, he said. So, this is a fraud which is transcendental, and it is going to do only good to all the parties. There is no loss, he says, right? Even though Prabhupada might have left his family, but by dint of his pure devotional service, how much benefit he must have done to his family members. It's just unimaginable. And what to speak of other relatives and society and all that. So this is the point over here, This is not to be imitated. It has to be done under guidance. But yes, something like this for Krishna consciousness, is actually justified. 38. Atha jagama bhagavan narada sahatumburuhu pratyuthaya bhivadyaha sanujobhyarchayan munim. While Sanjay was thus speaking, Sri Narada, the powerful devotee of the Lord, appeared on the scene carrying his tumburu. Maharaj Yudhishthir and his brothers received him properly by getting up from their seats and offered obeisances. So in this manner, we see that so in this manner, we see that Sanjay was also feeling, and he also told that he didn't know whereabouts of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari as well as Vidura, So there appeared on the scene the great sage Narada, Bhagwan Narada, Saha Tumburu, along with Tumburu Gandharva, which is a constant associate of Narada. Or this can also mean Narada along with his Veena, playing his Veena, just as Prabhupada takes that particular meaning. Narada's Veena is known also as Tumburu. But it can also mean that Narad came along with Tumburu Gandharva, who is a famous associate of Narad Muni. The horse-headed Gandharva, who is an expert singer of Lord Vishnu's glories. So he accompanies Narada many places, Sahatumburu. So when Narad Muni came there, so immediately Yudhishthir Maharaj got up from his seat, and along with all his brothers, he very nicely received Narad Muni, offering him obeisances and receiving him properly, like that. So Prabhupada says in the purport that actually the confidential devotees of the Lord, they always travel so that they can treat the conditioned living souls. Treatment. I mean, conditioned souls have this disease of being absorbed in material world, and that's why the great devotees like Narada, he is known as Bhagavan. Why he is known as Bhagavan? Because he is as good as Bhagavan by his devotion to Bhagavan. Being so dear to Lord, he can bestow the same mercy like Lord Krishna can bestow, Bhagavan can bestow. So that's why they are known as Bhagavan. That's the meaning of Bhagavan in case of Narad Muni. Actually, Bhagavan word also has two meanings. Vishnu Purana explains two meanings of word Bhagavan. So one meaning is Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashasha Shriya, very famous meaning of Bhagavan having six opulences in full and eternity. Another meaning of Bhagavan is also one pravrittim cha nivrittim cha, one who knows about what is the path of entanglement, one who knows the path of liberation, and one who can instruct and inspire the jivas to come out of uh, that path of entanglement. So such a person is also known as Bhagavan. That there is another definition of Bhagavan given by Parashar. So usually for jivas, for pure devotees of the Lord, when they are referred as Bhagavan, the other definition follows, not the definition of Aishwaryasya, Viryasya, Aishwaryasya Samagrasya, all that definition. So this is explained by Srila Jiva Goswami in his commentary on 10th Canto in one of the chapters. So Narad Muni appeared there to just pacify Yudhishthira and also tell him about the whereabouts of his uncle and Gandhari. Yudhishthiro vacha naham veda gatim pitro bhagavan kwa katavitah ambavahata putrartha kvagata cha tapasvini. Maharaj Yudhishthir said, "O godly personality, I do not know where my two uncles have gone, nor can I find my ascetic aunt, who is grief-stricken by the loss of all her sons." Yes, so here appeared Narad Muni, and then he's Trikaladnya. So Yudhishthir immediately asked him, after receiving him well and doing all the proper reception, Yudhishthir asked him that I don't know where my uncles have gone, and also my aunt Amba, my mother Gandhari, whose all sons were killed. I don't know whether she has gone, that great ascetic lady Tapaswini Gandhari, like that. So again, Prabhupada also makes this point in purport that he was very much aware of, Yudhishthir was aware of the suffering of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, and he always appreciated them because, especially Gandhari Devi, because she was a great ascetic. The kind of life that she led was exemplary as a pativrata, and also a great wife and ascetic that she was. So Yudhishthir asked Narad Muni about their whereabouts. Karnadhari va pare bhagwan paradarshaka atha babhashe bhagwan narado muni sattama. So the first line of this verse is also Yudhishthir's statement, and then next is spoken by Sud Goswami to say that Narada spoke. But the first part, Karnadhari va pare bhagwan paradarshaka, this is spoken by Yudhishthir. So Yudhishthir says to Narad Muni that you are actually, you are like a great captain for one who wants to cross over this ocean of birth and death, Paradarshaka, and you can take one to the other side of the ocean. You can see Bhut, Bhavishya, you can see Vartaman, you can see all the three kalas like that, So you are actually a worthy captain for one who wants to cross over the ocean of birth and death. So because you are Trikaladnya, Paradarshaka, please instruct me and explain to me what has happened to my relatives. So then Narad Muni spoke, and he is referred as Muni Sattama. So he is the best of the devotee philosophers. These are the devotee Muni. Usually Muni word means Mananat Muni. Manana, one who does great manana, contemplation, is known as Muni. Contemplative sage. Among all such Munis, Narad Muni is the best of all, so it is said Muni Sattama, like that. So Prabhupada says this in purport that unless one has become a sufficiently learned philosopher by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot be a learned philosopher devotee. One must be very faithful, learned, and renounced Otherwise, one cannot be a pure devotee. So Prabhupada says that actually one can be called really a Muni. I mean, this is not a mental speculator Muni, but this is a philosophical speculator, Viveki Muni, Bhakta Viveki Muni. So one can become like a learned person only if he has heard Vedanta from a bona fide spiritual master sufficiently. Actually, the understanding of Krishna consciousness, uh, if one has to get a deep understanding, one has to hear a lot from a bona fide spiritual master about the various aspects of devotional service. It's not that devotional service is a matter of just a flick or just kind of it can come by minimal effort or like that. No, even devotional service for that matter actually needs a great effort, a great effort in terms of hearing from a bona fide spiritual master and practicing it. Prabhupada says one must be very faithful, learned, and renounced. So not only one has to be just accumulating the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, but one has to be also very faithful to the process of bhakti, to the service of Guru and Gauranga. And one has to be also renounced. Otherwise there are many scholars who hardly are having any faith. On the other side, there are faithful devotees, but they may not be very learned in Siddhanta. So the point is, when somebody can be called as a Muni Sattama, when he is also learned and he is greatly faithful. So both the aspects of an Uttama Adhikari, that he has a complete knowledge and he has complete faith, like that. So that Prabhupada is saying. So then one can be called as a pure devotee, or an Uttama Adhikari in that particular manner. So Narad Muni is like foremost of such great devotee. So now Narad Muni instructs Yudhishthira Maharaj about first of all, he pacifies his lamentation, and then he instructs also about what is going to happen, the future with Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Vidura. So, but then Yudhishthir was such a noble soul that if Narad Muni would have directly told him about whereabouts of his uncle and Gandhari aunt, so he would have just fainted. Can you imagine this? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this, that they have gone to forest and they are leading an austere life. If it would have been told, this would have been told to Yudhishthir, he would have fainted right there. That much was the love he had for these people, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Vidura. So he was like that. He was such a noble soul. So that's why he first pacified him. He kind of prepared him by speaking about Lord's plan and how he should not lament over what he is going to describe the next. So that's why Narad Muni first speaks some instructions of so that he can pacify Yudhishthira Maharaj, and then after 7-8 verses he starts telling about Dhritarashtra and Gandhari's destination. Narada Uvacha Ma Kanchan Shucho Rajan Yadishvara Vasham Jagat Loka Sapala Yasye Me Vahanti Balimeshitu Sa Samyunakti Bhutani Sa Eva Vyunakti Cha. Shri Narad said, O pious king, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It is he only who brings them together and disperses them. So in this manner, we see that Narad Muni starts instructing. First he begins to pacify him by instructions so that he can get rid of the lamentation. So he says, Narad Muni says that Ma Kashchan Shucho Rajan, please do not lament. Yadishvara Vasham Jagat, this whole world is running under the control of Ishvara, Supreme Lord Krishna. Loka Sapala Yasye Me Vahanti Balimishitu. In fact, all the people of this world, all living beings, including all the leaders, they are always controlled by Supreme Lord, and they are worshipping the Supreme Lord, you know. So that Supreme Lord, Ishvara, he is the one who causes separation. Sa samyunakti bhutani. He is the one who causes union of the living beings. Saeva viyunakti cha, and he only causes the separation. So you are feeling separation from Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and Vidura, but let me tell you, it is Lord. He is that Lord only who has caused that separation. He is the cause of all separation. He is the cause of all union in this world. You know, he is the one who controls every living being's activities, like that. So that's why you should not lament, knowing that Lord is in control. So Prabhupada also in purport talks about how not only demigods but also so-called great leaders of this world like Napoleon, Akbar, and Alexander and Gandhi and all such people, they are also placed into certain circumstance by Lord's control, and they are also taken away by that circumstance by Lord's control. So although they may not understand this, they may not accept this, or they may want to rebel against the control of the Lord, but it is a fact that actually everything in this world is controlled by the Lord, like that. So this is the point, that Ishvara who comes in the form of Kala, or the invincible time, he controls everybody, like that. So in this world, the activities, the happiness, the distress that is happening in this world, actually the Kala is controlling, Ishvara, Supreme Lord, especially in the form of time. He is controlling all the activities, whether of devotees or of non-devotees. And that's why one should not so much worry about the happiness and distress in this world. Prabhupada says this in the second paragraph. It's best that one endeavors to achieve salvation, right? Even Narad Muni says this in the first canto, in the Narad Vyasa Samvad. Tasyeva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad brahmatam uparyada tallabhyate dukkhavadanyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira rampasa. So one should actually, an intelligent person, Kovida, should only strive for that thing which is not available by wandering in all 14 planetary systems. So what is that which is not available? That is actually Krishna Prema. That is Lord's association. That is something which is not available even if somebody achieves the opulence of all 14 worlds. So one should act for that purpose, for achieving the love of the Supreme Lord. And one should endeavor to achieve that particular goal of life. So Narad Muni first of all clarified to him, saying that, what is there to lament? Please know that all separation, all coming together, everything is controlled by the Supreme Lord. So especially now he will talk about the control of Supreme Lord of on all the living beings. He will speak this philosophical principle with two examples. In the verse 42 and 43, Narad Muni will give two examples by which he will tell why the jivas are, how jivas are controlled by the Supreme Lord. Yatha gavo nasi prota tantyam baddhascha damabhihi vaktantyam namabir baddha vahanti balimeshituhu. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of Supreme. So Narad Muni gives an example. Just as sometimes we see in the villages, there are cows, and they are tied by a rope in their nose, right? We see that there is a rope in the nose that is tied in the nose of the cows. And then all those ropes which are there in the nose, they are tied to one long rope, which is in the hand of the farmer. He can control all the cows by holding that one rope, which is connected to all the ropes which are tied in the nose of all the cows. So, yatha gavo nasi prota tantyam baddhascha damabhi. Here, damabhi refers to all those individual ropes in the nose of the cow. And tantyam, tantri, that refers to actually that particular rope, which is the long rope, which is held by the farmer, you know. So damabhi is the short ropes which are put in the nose, and tantya or tantri is the rope that which is controlling the long rope. And this is how the farmer controls everybody. So similarly, Narad Muni is telling an interesting example for this philosophical point. What is that philosophical point? Vaktantyam namabhi baddha vahanti balimeshitu. Similarly, all the living beings in this world, they are bound by a rope in their nose. What is that nose, that rope? So that is actually namabhi. Namabhi is that rope by which they are bound. What is Namabhi? Namabhi is actually the particular designation that Varnashrama gives to them. Each one of us, each one of the living entity is bound by the Lord by putting a nose on his rope, by putting a rope in his nose. What is that? That is the Varnashram designation. You have to act as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, either of this, or you have to act as Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So these are the individual ropes that are put in the nose of every living beings. And then there is a long rope again, where all these ropes are bound. What is that long rope? That is the rope of Vedas, Vaktantya, Vedas, the Vaktantri, the Vedic hymns, the Vedic instructions, they are the ones who are governing each one of this individual rope, that is Brahman, how a Brahmana should act, how a Kshatriya should act, how a Vaishya should act, So Vedas are compared to that long rope, and all these individual designations are compared to that short rope, also spoken by Namabhi and Vaktantyam, So by control, and then who is the farmer? Who is controlling? Of course, Supreme Lord is the farmer who is controlling, in this particular manner. So by controlling in this particular manner, so they have to act, every jiva has to act under Lord's instructions of Varnashrama. So when it is said he has to act, means what? Means if he doesn't act in that way, the system of Lord's creation will punish him. If a living being doesn't act as per the rules of scriptures, Varnashrama dharma, then he will be punished. So one is free to act, somebody can say, but free to act means what? If he doesn't act in the way that the scriptural rules and regulations tell, then he also has to bear the consequences. You understand? So Lord has actually, for an ideal human being, he has given this particular system by which everybody has to follow the scriptural rules and regulations, right? Like it is said, that sandhyam upasit, one has to do the sandhya. A Brahman has to do 3 times sandhya. So he is bound by that regulation. Similarly, a Kshatriya is bound by regulation. Vaishya is bound. Shudra is bound. If it comes to ashrama, Brahman, ashrama, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, they have their rules and regulations, and one has to be following those rules and regulations. So thus actually, Lord is in control, And if somebody says, I don't care for these rules and regulations, so such a person is then controlled by the material nature. He has to undergo the control of Maya Devi, and then she controls such a person even more stringently by putting him in the suffering condition, either in the lower forms of life or even more sinful births. So this way, Krishna is actually always in control. Lord is always in control. You understand? So he's giving a fantastic example, actually, Narad Muni, to explain this particular point of Lord's control, like that. Then Prabhupada in purport also, he makes the point about how one has to follow the laws of the Lord, and if one doesn't follow the laws of God or Lord, then there will be a massive danger. Prabhupada says in the first paragraph, massive danger to be faced by the lawbreaker, like that. But whoever is an ideal human being, if he follows those rules and regulations of Supreme Lord, then he pleases the Supreme Lord. That's dharma. And if you don't want to follow dharma, then you are controlled directly by material energy, and that's how the control is accomplished. So point is, sometimes Prabhupada also says this, that the secular state, dharma nirapeksha rashtra, in some so-called dharma nirapekshata, where they don't care if person follows laws of religion, but they just want that he follows the state laws. But Prabhupada makes a very deep point, saying that if a person doesn't follow the God's laws, then actually no matter what state laws we legislate, there will be a chaos in the society, because if God is removed from the picture, then where is the impetus to follow uh, any kind of system of law and order, right? Where is the inspiration to follow morality? नैतिकता, धर्म के विहीन नैतिकता के लिए क्या प्रेरणा है? Like that. So sometimes these atheists, secular humanists, and all these peoples, all these people, they talk about a lot of morality without God consciousness, but actually it's on a very flimsy ground. We see that it doesn't survive. That so-called upright morality gets washed away whenever there are great opportunities for sense gratification, like that. So that's how it is actually. Only with understanding of God consciousness that morality can stand still, morality can survive. So that's how, if somebody follows God's laws, then you don't have to make so many state laws. People will naturally follow the state laws also. But if there is a complete disregard or indifference towards God's laws, then no matter what we do in the secular world, there will always be some unrest, some chaos. And Prabhupada is bringing up that point here. Yes, not only God controls the activities, but he also controls the viyoga and samyoga, separation and union. To prove that, the next example is given. The next verse talks about that. The prior verse talked about how all the activities are controlled by the Lord. Now text 43 will explain how even the sanyoga and viyoga is also controlled by the Lord. Yatha kridopaskaranam sanyoga vigama viha ichchaya kriditu syatam tathaivechchaya nranam. As a player sets up and disperses his playthings according to his own sweet will, so the supreme will of the Lord brings men together and separates them. So he gives an example, Narad Muni, another good example to explain how Lord only causes separation and Lord only causes the union. So how is this? So he said, just as a player, somebody who is playing with toy things or playthings, so for the time being, he wants to play with toys, he plays, and then immediately he picks up the toys and stops the play. He keeps the toys wherever he wants to, like that. So toys come together by that person's will, and then toys are separated again by that person's will. So similarly, in this world also, we see that the living beings come together by the arrangement of Supreme Lord, and they call themselves as relatives, and brother and sister, and husband and wife, and child and son, and father and mother. But then soon after the arrangement of time, all of them go to different destinations, and then who knows where who has gone. Even Nanda Maharaj says this in 10th canto, like that. He says that Naikatra Priya Samvasaha. He says that actually in this world, just as the flow of the stream, the river, it brings some group of some sticks together, some grass sticks together, and then they flow for some time together, and then they are separated after some time. So actually that's the case with jivas. Jivas come together by their own karmas. They come together in the form of family under the arrangement of Supreme Lord, and then they stay together in that stream of time, and then soon by the passage of time they also separate to go at a destination where they can never meet each other again, right? So actually, this is a true fact of life, that it's all happening by Lord's will and arrangement. So Prabhupada says in the first paragraph line of the purport, we must know for certain that the particular position in which we are now set up is an arrangement of the supreme will in terms of our own acts in the past. So when we say Lord's supreme will, we do understand it's in accordance with our own karma. We have done that particular karma. But you see, although a particular karma is done by living entity, a particular living entity coming together with a particular another living entity of a particular karma is arrangement of the supreme, right? Jiva doesn't decide that in my this birth who is going to be my father, you know. So although by his karma he is being put into a particular situation, but which particular jiva of another karma will come with him, that's not a jiva choice. That is actually done by the Supreme Lord's arrangement. And till what time they will stay and then where they will go the next, this is all done by Supreme Lord's arrangement. So this is the point because of which he is saying that Lord is the cause of separation and Lord is the cause of union this way. Prabhupada says this particular thing in the purport also, that sometimes we see a rich man is born with a rich man's son is born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and another person is born in a very poor family, which is not, I mean, there is difficulty to even get a food 2 times, like that. So who gets into what kind of condition and who are the souls that he gets together with, this is all done by Supreme Lord's arrangement. So this is all done by Lord's arrangement. That's the point. Prabhupada also says that seeing the example of player and plaything and understanding that we are placed in the situations by our own karma should also not lead to the erroneous conclusion of karma mimamsa. Karma mimamsakas feel that it's actually our own karma that is giving us the destination, and we can enforce upon the Lord to give the result of that karma. So actually Lord is also not independent. The karma is supreme. By performing karma, we oblige the Lord to give the result, you know. But actually this is not a correct philosophy. Karma mimamsa is not the right philosophy, because Lord is never obliged. Although Lord makes a system by which if somebody does a good karma, he awards, somebody does a bad karma, he gives a punishment, but he is not bound to follow this. See, in general, he follows it because he has made the system. But because he has made the system, he can also overthrow that system, or he can bypass the system, or if there are other considerations, he can actually change the system, right? So that's why karma mimamsa, which says that Lord is obliged, Lord is bound by the jiva's karma to award him certain things, is not a right philosophy, because it is putting Lord also under subjugation of karma and his system, which is not true. And Prabhupada gives an example for this. When we say that Lord can surely change the karma, he says about example of pure devotees, example of devotional service. We know that actually whatever a person has done, if he takes to devotional service, Lord can completely change his karma, right? It's possible. You know, he may be destined to suffer very terribly, but then Krishna can decide and forgive him for all the suffering, you know, just because now he has taken to devotional service. What to speak of that? Even Krishna is pleased by somebody by any reason. I mean, see, this is a point discussed by Baldev Vidyabhushan in Vedanta Sutra, where he says that Krishna is completely independent in doing anything. Suppose by a jiva, Lord is pleased, finished, then he can finish up his karma in a moment's time. And what pleases, what pleases Supreme Lord is also That can also not be dictated. Okay, in general, he is pleased by devotional service. But suppose he is pleased by somebody's some quality, like Puranas talk about a quality, he was so amused by a person's stingy nature, kripana, miserly nature, that Lord started laughing, and he was so amused by his stingy nature that actually he bestowed his mercy upon that person. So this is not a general rule. What I'm trying to say is Krishna is completely independent in what he wants to do with Jiva's karma. In general, he will not meddle with it. In general, he will keep it as it is. But this should not lead to a conclusion where we say that he is bound by Jiva's karma to award those results. No, he is not bound. He if he wants, he can destroy all the karma for no good reason, apparently. If that's what he desires, like that. So that's the point here. That should be understood. Yeah, so we go ahead. So Narad Muni tells Yudhishthir that there is actually, that's why no need of lamentation. In fact, even if you consider the identity of Jiva, see, what I will do in today's session, Prabhu, is that I will end with Narad Muni's instructions, which will go about almost till verse 50, and then I will pause, take some questions, and then take remaining 10 verses in the post questions. So I will go on up to almost verse 48 or 49 almost. Okay, so even if you were to consider actually the true identity of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, of any Jiva, still you don't have any reason for lamentation. Narad Muni says that in the next verse now. He already explained that Sanyog and Viyog is caused by Lord. All the activities are controlled by Lord. Now he also wants to tell, even if you were to see the identity of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, where is the question of any lamentation? Yanmanyase dhruvam lokam adhruvam va nachobhayam sarvatha nahi shochaste snehadanyatra mohajat. O king, in all circumstances, whether you consider the soul to be an eternal principle, or the material body to be perishable, or everything to exist in the impersonal absolute truth, or everything to be an inexplicable combination of matter and spirit, feelings of separation are due only to illusory affection and nothing more. So, yanmanyase dhruvam lokam. Here, lokam means persons, janam. Okay. So even if you accept that a person is dhruvam, means he is a soul, adhruvam va, or he is not a soul, means he is a body, va nacha ubhayam, or neither he is soul nor body. If you accept, what is that? Neither soul nor body. He is Brahmaru, he is Brahman, like that. Vana chobhayam, or you accept that he is both. He is conscious as well as unconscious. He is soul as well as his body. So actually, all these ideas are from different philosophers that Narad Muni is referring to. Yan manyase dhruvam. Some philosophers say that the jiva, actually the person is a jiva, means he is a soul who has taken up the body temporarily. Others say that actually living entity is the body only, right? Like Charvak says this. Lokayatas are the philosophers who say that living entity is only body. There is nothing called as soul, actually. What we call as soul is actually the body, which is generated at a particular point and then undergoes destruction. That's it, they say. So these are the Lokayatas. Then some say that actually neither soul nor body exists, only Brahma exists, right? So you have seen this, impersonalist talk like this. So a jiva's real identity is actually Brahman, because only Brahma is that which exists. So this is the third category. Ubhayam. And fourth category is Ubhayam, which say both actually. So this is another Vaibhashika category, very interesting, which say that Actually, the soul is generated by combination of matter, you know. By combination of matter, at one particular point, the soul is generated. But that soul undergoes destruction, and that's how it also, at every moment, is undergoing destruction. These are the Buddhists, actually. Buddhist philosophers talks like this. Vaibhashikas are actually one version of Buddhists, you know. So these all, and they have their great systems to explain all these interesting ideas like that. But in any case, you know, Narad Muni is saying, if you consider any of this conclusion, actually Yudhishthir is aware of the exact conclusion. He knows that Jiva is spirit soul and is eternal servant of Krishna. But he is talking in a way that whatever you consider, whatever one considers, still there is no need to lament. This instruction is similar, like Krishna says, right? In Bhagavad Gita also, in second chapter, you know, he says that jatasya hi dhruvam mrityur, and before that also, you know, athachayanam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam. Yeah, that's the words where he also speaks in similar lines. So he says, actually, in whatever case, if the jiva is soul, then he is eternal, so no need of lamentation. If jiva is body, then he was always dead, so then there is no cause of lamentation, because dead always, you know, so why should we lament? If jiva is Brahman, then there is no death only, right? There is no soul existing or no body existing. So what is there to lament? In fact, who is there to lament? Because only Brahman exists. There is no need to lament, because there is no one to lament only, you know. That's the third one. And fourth one, in which it is said that matter, they are chit jadamsha, you know, they are combination of chit as well as jada, like that. So then in the fourth category, anyway, the characteristic is that the jiva is going to undergo the destruction. So where is the question of lamentation, you know, in that particular manner? So that's why there is no need of any lamentation. That's what Narad Muni says. So Narad Muni is speaking in a very philosophical terms, you know, he's speaking some jnana, so that I mean, to pacify him of the lamentation, like that. Fine. He continues. So that's why he should give up the lamentation. Tasmad jahyanga vaiklavyam adhyana kritam atmanah katham tu anatha kripana varteranse cha mam vina. Therefore, give up your anxiety due to ignorance of the self. You are now thinking of how they, who are helpless, poor creatures, will exist without you. No? So he explained this thing, that actually whatever lamentation is there, that lamentation is actually only because of sneha jata. This was moha jata. This was explained in the last verse. Actually, only because of affection that is generated because of moha, of illusion, that's why one feels lamentation, you know. So this lamentation is actually that lamentation which is born of moha. Actually, Yudhishthir's lamentation is surely not born of moha, but Narad Muni is speaking in general way. Yudhishthir's lamentation is born because of his spiritual, status. It's actually not the lamentation born of moha, but it's lamentation born of bhakti. You know, so this is a deep principle in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's actually sthai bhava, which is caused by karuna rasa. You know, because of his mellow of compassion, compassion, he is getting those feelings of bhakti and feeling of lamentation out of a great compassion for the jivas, you know. But Narad Muni is speaking in general way, you know. So this verse is not talking about any lamentation is bogus. No, lamentation generated from bhakti is actually quite desirable, you know, just as we see that lamentation of Arjuna's over Abhimanyu's departure and all that, you know. So Narad Muni is talking in general sense, and that's why he says, that's why please give up this Vaiklavyam, you know, this mental disparity, this agitation which is caused by ajnana, which is caused by the ignorance, like that. Don't think that what will happen to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari without me. Who will sustain them? Who will take care of them? Without me, who will be their guardian? What will happen to these poor personalities, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, like that? So actually, Lord is the maintainer. Bhuta Bhrit, Prabhupada says. Lord is the one who maintains everybody. And that's why you please don't worry about their maintenance. Narad Muni is saying they will be maintained by Lord. And that's why you should not worry about what will happen to them without my taking care of them because they are devoid of me now. He says that actually what protection anybody can offer. Narad Muni says nobody can offer any protection. He says this in the next verse. Kala karma gunadhino dehoyam pancha bhautikah kathamanyastu gopayet sarpagrasto yatha param. This gross material body made of 5 elements is already under the control of eternal time, action, and the modes of material nature. How then can it, being already in the jaws of the serpent, protect others? So actually, who can protect in this world? We see that every person's body in this world is controlled completely by Lord's material nature, comprising of kala, karma, and guna. Right, the time, the karma, the prior karmas, and guna, the modes. So ayam pancha bhautika deha, this body which is made up of 5 elements, is always controlled by kala, karma, and guna. So that's why who can protect whom? Because one who is protecting his body is also controlled by kala, karma, guna, and one who is being protected, so called, his body is also controlled by kala, karma, and guna. So just as if somebody is himself being devoured by snake, can he protect somebody else? That person himself is being swallowed by ajgara. So what help he can do to others? He is saying. So the point here is that Prabhupada says in purport that how kala, karma, and guna, they control everybody, right? Sometimes people want to help others, but then unless and until you are in a particular guna, you are driven by sattva guna, you are not able to help people. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, they are not aware about their own upliftment, their own understanding about life and spirit, soul, and everything else. What can they offer help to others? We see all these social reformers and all. They want to help others, but unless and until somebody is enlightened by scripture, what help he can offer actually? So one has to come to Satvikta, and Satvikta is characterized by knowledge of the scriptures. So then one will not be able to help much. Similarly, Kala, even though somebody is able to offer some help, he is giving some food, clothing, shelter, and opening hospitals, but then time comes and destroys everything, right? Temporarily, he is giving some benefit, but then Kala takes over and finishes off everything. That person only dies, so all his enterprise also stops. Or those whom he is trying to help, they die. So in this manner, real help cannot be offered actually. Whatever help is offered is just a temporary help. That's what Narad Muni is saying. So, hey Yudhishthir, you don't think about going and helping Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Actually, what help you can offer to them in terms of their subsistence? They whatever is their karma, and based on that, they have to suffer their own karma. So that's why you can't actually offer much help to them. Bhakti is the only help that can be offered, and that Vidura has already kind of instructed them in spiritual life. So how they will survive in the forest, that is spoken also by him. How they every jiva is taken care by the Supreme Lord. That's how Dhritarashtra and Gandhari will also be taken care. They will also subsist even in the forest or wherever they are. Narad Muni has not yet revealed about that, but he is telling this thing that wherever they are, they will subsist like that. Ahastani sahastanam apadani chatushpadam falguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. Those who are devoid of hands are prey for those who have hands. Those devoid of legs are prey for the four-legged. The weak are the subsistence of the strong, and the general rule holds that one living being is food for another. So in this way, this is a law of this world, that jivo jivasya jivanam. Actually, in this world, one living entity is food for the another. Hastani sahastanam. Those living beings which don't have hands, they are the food for those who have hands, right? Like all the animals which don't have hands, they they have only the feet or paws, so they are the ones who which is, they are the food for humans. Or it can also mean that those who have only the legs, like deers and all, they are the food for those who have uh, paws and they can hold by their paws, like tigers and all that. Or it can mean the lower animals are food for the humans, those who are endowed with hands, like that. Apadani chatushpadam, and those who don't have even the legs also. So this is typically referring to all the grasses and plants and all that. They are the food of those who have the four legs, quadrupeds, all the animals like deer and all that. Falguni tatra mahatam. And then there are those who are weaker living beings, like smaller fishes. They are the food of mahatam. They are the food of bigger fishes. Smaller animals are the food of bigger animals. So this is the rule in the world. Jivo jivasya jivanam. So this is what is the point. So that's why living entities subsist in this manner in the world. That's why even for Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, whatever is the food that is offered by Lord for a religious life, like in terms of fruits and roots and herbs in the jungle, they will subsist on that. They will be taken care of that. In this world, Krishna has arranged for everybody's subsistence. That's what the point is, like that. So what Prabhupada talks in this world is actually that the material world is designed in such a way that one living being is food for another. So that's why one should not get disturbed when a tiger is killing a deer, or whenever some weak animals are killed by the stronger animals. In fact, Charles Darwin, he had observed these phenomena in the nature and he became extremely disturbed, saying that how is that God can be a designer, such a cruel designer, in which he has made tiger naturally powerful than the deer. So he is partial to tiger. That was Darwin's conclusion. God is partial to tiger, and he is actually done injustice to a deer, and that's how tiger is killing a deer. So how, if God was all merciful, how could he do such an injustice? So I don't believe in a God who is like that. And Charles Darwin, like that, he became atheist actually. But it's a very great ignorance about the principles of God's creation, right? Prabhupada is saying actually one has to know why this kind of arrangement is done by God in this world in the first place. Why it has to be jivo jivasya jivanam? Because the living beings in the material world come with that particular desire. They come with a desire to rule over the other living entity, oppress other living entity, enjoy other living entities at the cost of even their life. Living entity want to enjoy those modes, and that's how Lord has arranged those circumstances. A particular jiva who enjoys drinking blood, so he is offered such a body like a tiger, where he can drink the blood of the animal always. So not knowing the understanding behind making this world in that fashion can bewilder one, but one who understands the nature, the God's creation, then he is not bewildered by this. And one more point is, when it is said that ahastani sahastanam, that the living beings without hands are the food for living beings with hands, like humans. So this is only meaning in a general sense, that this is how in material world will happen. This is not God's recommendation for a living being to be like that. Krishna, I mean, Vedas are not recommending that a jiva, that a human being should kill animals and eat. No, it is telling about this. This will be the state in material world. But the point is, if somebody is a human being, he should lead a responsible life by actually consuming only the plants which are given to him, plants and herbs and all that, fruits, roots. He is not supposed to kill the animals. So this is also given in the Vedas, like that. So all the whole arrangement is jivo jivasya jivanam. What jiva a human being should consume is also told. You understand? So that's the point, which is should be understood. And that's why Prabhupada says here that we can't be torturing animals for our own eating and then still expect a happiness, because humans are not supposed to kill animals, like that. So Narad Muni is just about to end his instruction. Tadidam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atmatmanam Swadrik Antaro Nantaro Bhati Pashyatam Maya Yorudha. Therefore, O king, you should look to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second and who manifests himself by different energies and is both within and without. So this is why, Narad Muni says that please know that in this world, it is all Krishna's arrangement. In fact, Krishna is only one that exists in the world. There is no second. He is the one who exists, and he is the one who is who stays before creation and after annihilation. And it's this world is complete manifestation of Lord's energies only. So know this. This is completely in control of the Lord. Know that Supreme Lord who is Atmatmanam Swadrik. He is Atmanam Atma. He is the soul of all the souls. Means he is Antaryami, Paramatma. So by his Swarup Shakti, he is manifesting as Paramatma. Antaraha refers to jivas actually. So as enjoyer, he is manifesting as Vibhinnamshas, jivas, Bhoktru Rupena jiva, like that. Antaraha refers to jivas. Anantara refers to Bhogya Rupena Sukha Dukkha. The sense objects, and especially the Sukha Dukkha, that is also Supreme Lord's manifestation. That is manifestation of Lord's Maya Shakti. Jiva is manifestation of Lord's Jiva Shakti, and Paramatma is manifestation of his. So in this manner, all these three manifestations, that is Paramatma, Jiva, and the sense objects, they are the manifestation of Swarup Shakti, and then Jiva Shakti and Paramatma, Maya Shakti. So this is how the whole world is nothing but Lord. So that's why you please know this Lord, Tam Pashyatam Mayaya Urudha. Know this Lord who is actually manifesting his presence in so many different forms, Urudha, by these three kinds of energies, like that. So Prabhupada also speaks about this in the purport, like that. Okay, so yes. So if Yudhishthir were to ask, actually, who is that Supreme Lord, and where is he now? So then in order to answer that, he says, Narad Muni says the next verse, Soyam Adya Maharaja Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Kala Rupovatirno Syam Abhavaya Suradvisham. That same Supreme Lord who exists in all three energies has now come in the form of Lord Krishna, who is staying in Dwaraka. He is Avatirna. So this is in the past actually. Lord has appeared. What to speak of appeared? Lord has disappeared now. But he is saying past in the manner of like it had just happened. So that same Supreme Lord has appeared now in the form of Krishna, and especially now he has appeared in the form of Kala Rupa. He has now appeared in the Kala Rupa form to destroy everything, and to destroy all the demons. So Lord had by that time finished all the demons and eliminated all of them, and in fact even departed. But he is speaking in this sense of actually Krishna appearing to kill all the demons, and Krishna also in the form of Kala destroying everything else, like that. Nishpaditam deva krityam avashesham pratikshate tavad yuyam avakshedhvam bhavedyavad iheshwaraha. The Lord has already performed his duties to help the demigods, and he is awaiting the rest. You Pandavas may wait as long as the Lord is here on the earth. So Narad Muni is saying that Nishpaditam Deva Krityam, Devas wanted Lord to destroy the demons and he has done it already. And now he is waiting for the remainder, you know. So you also please wait till the time Lord is here in the material world. Wait for the further plan of the Lord to happen. Now you will say, how is Narad Muni saying like this when Lord has already departed? Why is he saying that stay to Pandavas that stay till the time Lord is there on this planet? So point is, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very clearly tells that actually Narad Muni is speaking in terms of, he's just speaking like the Vidura spoke. Although Narad Muni very well knows that Lord has disappeared, Yadu's annihilation has already happened, but still he's not sharing those details with Yudhishthir, like that. So when he says that Lord is waiting for the remainder, Lord is waiting for the rest, what does it mean actually? Jiva Goswami says it means that Lord is awaiting the return of the Pandavas to his eternal abode. Avashesham pratikshate. Actually, Narad Muni in his mind is saying that now Krishna is only awaiting your return to the spiritual world. For himself, he has already gone back. So tavad yuyam avakshedhvam bhavet yavad iheshwara. So that's why you should stay here as long as Lord is here on the earth. Actually, Lord is not there on the earth. He has already left. But he is not sharing those details with Pandavas because he knows they will be known soon anyways. And he didn't want to distress the Pandavas, in this particular fashion, like that. Okay. So that is the point. Now he will tell about Dhritarashtra and Gandhari and what will happen to them in the future. But before that, I will take a pause and I will see if there are any questions. Okay, here is a question. Dhritarashtra was so much attached to householder life. How could he handle the austere life of renunciation in his old age without any previous practice of it? Yes, so Prabhupada as well as Acharyas say that this was actually by the great force and instruction of Vidura. Actually, by the great mercy of Vidura, he developed such a determination, Dhritarashtra, that he was able to practice all the Ashtanga Yoga practice and all, although he had not practiced it much during his life. See, he was aware of the practice of Ashtanga Yoga because actually he was instructed many times by great sages. There are episodes in which Maitreya speaks to Dhritarashtra. Then before that, Sanat Sujat has spoken to Dhritarashtra spiritual instructions. And Dhritarashtra would also talk to other great souls in terms of receiving some spiritual instructions. But he didn't take them seriously. He didn't practice them very severely. But he was aware of the process of Ashtanga Yoga. So that's how he could practice after his renunciation. But surely to practice it with determination was the effect of Vidura's great electrifying talk that inspired him to practice that path. It's second question. It seems people of Kali prefer the control of material nature than the control of Varna and Ashram. Why? Yes, actually, people of Kali Yuga, they don't want Varnashrama regulation. They are okay to suffer rather than Varnashram regulation. See, one of the factors is that this is one of the reasons why these are the souls of Kali Yuga, because the faith in the Shastras goes away in the Kali Yuga. Because they don't have faith in the Shastra, so they don't feel inspired also to follow the injunctions of Shastras. In general, there is a great atmosphere of disbelief of scriptures as well as scriptural principles in Kali Yuga. So if you don't believe scriptures only, and because of Kali Yuga, it can also be justified in terms of there are hardly any people who can explain the scriptures or give people faith in scriptures. whatever the systems of karma kanda and all that were in scriptures, because of lack of proper brahmanas, power to chant the mantras, all that cannot be accomplished. So in absence of all such capabilities of scriptures, then naturally people develop a disbelief, you know. So because of which it is difficult for them to accept scriptures and varnashram. Instead of that, they just want to come up with their own means to attain happiness. And in that attempt, even if there is suffering, they are okay to try in different ways. But point is of disbelief of scriptures. So of course, we are not saying that the jivas are not to be blamed. Surely the Kali Yuga souls are only to be blamed because they are not there in the Kali Yuga by chance, right? You know, you have heard this famous remark by one of the devotees. Kali Yuga souls are the perpetual backbenchers of school of spirituality who could not pass the test of time and mercy both. So Kali Yuga souls are perpetual backbenchers. So they happen to be there, and naturally, because of their lack in scriptures, so they prefer being controlled by material nature, that is suffering, rather than varna and ashram. In what manner one should apply 11346 while being responsible in householder life? Yeah, applying 11346, that is kala karma gunadhino dehoyam panchabhuti kathamanyanstu gopayat sarpagrasto yathata. Yes, so this has to be applied in the sense of one has to do his household duties being very responsibly, just as Yudhishthir Maharaj was also. But at the same time, be convinced of the fact that actually the real protection one can offer is only by Lord's mercy. So, along with offering the protection of food, clothing, shelter, affection to our dependents, we must connect them to Krishna consciousness and have this understanding that actually finally, irrespective of what you can do for a jiva, Krishna consciousness is what will help him in the ultimate issue. So not forgetting this principle at all, that's our application in householder life, you know, because otherwise it so happens that in the flow of household life, sometimes it so happens that we just completely focus on giving people physical or emotional needs, food, clothing, shelter, but then we forget that the greatest need of the soul, the Krishna consciousness, that is to be provided actually, you know. So this is not to inspire any irresponsibility, but this is to inspire the right way to do that responsibility. So, you know, pitana sasyad, jananina sasyad, gururna sasyad, you know, swajanona sasyad, you know that Jad Bharat says that, sorry, Rishabdev says that, unless and until one can offer the solution to birth and death to his dependent, one should not take the responsibility of a dependent. So every father, every mother, teacher, every guru, he has this responsibility of, you know, very nicely balancing the spiritual care as well as material care of his dependents. So if he can do that and, you know, offer this wonderful care of spiritual life, then he has done his perfect responsibility, irrespective of how that particular jiva takes it, because that is still a jiva choice, how he takes the, you know, spiritual care given by his guardian. But the point is, we follow our responsibility by offering both the cares very wonderfully, spiritual care as well as material care. Fine, I see these three questions. Apart from this, I don't see any question. Are there any questions more? I just give one more minute in case somebody wants to ask anything more on what we discussed. Okay, so we go ahead. I see that there are no more questions on this section. So now this is the last part of this particular chapter, in which the whereabouts of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari will also told by Narad Muni. Narad Muni has already pacified the Yudhishthira for from his lamentation. You know, although Yudhishthira's lamentation is transcendental, we do understand, but uh, yes, he has in general way kind of instructed Yudhishthira and all others who could have been also lamenting over Dhritarashtra and Gandhari's exodus. Okay, so now he tells about Dhritarashtra and Gandhari's whereabouts. Text 51. धृतराष्ट्रः सह भ्रात्रा गान्धार्या च स्वभार्यया दक्षिणेन हिमवतः ऋषिणामाश्रमं गतः. O king, your uncle Dhritarashtra, his brother Vidura, and his wife Gandhari have gone to the southern side of the Himalaya mountains, where there are shelters of the great sages. So in this way, after giving a philosophical view and pacifying Yudhishthir, now Narad Muni also tells about where Dhritarashtra and Gandhari have gone. So Dhritarashtra, Gandhari and Vidura, they have gone to Himalayas, but within Himalayas also to the southern side, where there are shelters of the great sages. What is that exact place is said in the next verse. Strotobhi saptabhir yavai swardhuni saptadha vyadad saptanam pritaye nana saptasrotah prachakshate. The place is called Saptashrota, divided by 7, because there the waters of the sacred Ganges were divided into 7 branches. This was done for the satisfaction of the 7 great rishis. So Dhritarashtra and Gandhari Vidura, they have gone to a specific place called Saptastrota. Very nice words. There is a alankar called Anupras alankar in this alliteration. In English, we call it as alliteration. Strotobhi, the sakar is very nicely repeated in the whole verse. Strotobhi saptabhir yavai swardhuni saptada vyadhat saptanam pritaye nana saptasrota pachakshate. You see that? So very nice, poetic composition by Vyasadeva. So this place is called as Sapta Srota because at this point, Mother Ganges, when she came, she wanted to actually flow in a way that the Saptarshis, the sages which have ashramas in that particular region, they will be satisfied. So if she went to one particular sage's cottage or a hermitage before and then later went to somebody else, she thought that the sages would feel offended that what is this, that she is coming there first and coming to me before. I mean, this is how one commentator explains this particular episode like that. This is coming from Purana, but I couldn't get the whole story where what is the exact context. But the commentator says that just so that the sages are not offended, and this was Ganges' thought. So then she just split herself into 7 streams and she flew simultaneously. She just flowed simultaneously. She through all the hermitages, I mean nearby all the hermitages of all the 7 sages. So simultaneously, because she split into 7 currents, so she is known as Saptasrota. Or that land is known as Saptasrota because Ganges divided itself into 7 branches. So what was Dhritarashtra doing there? It is spoken. Snatvano savanam tasmin hutva chagnin yatha vithi abhaksha upashantatma sa aste vigataishanaha. On the banks at Saptasrota, Dhritarashtra is now engaged in beginning Ashtanga Yoga by bathing 3 times daily, in the morning, noon, and evening, by performing the Agnihotra sacrifice with fire and by drinking only water. This helps one control the mind and the senses and frees one completely from thoughts of familial affection. Yes. Yes, so what was Dhritarashtra doing there? Narad Muni explains this. So he is taking there 3 times bath daily, Snatva Anusavanam. and also following the Agnihotra sacrifice rituals, and just subsisting on water. Actually, abhaksha. He was doing such an austerity that he was not taking any food, not even fruits, roots, herbs, anything. He was just drinking water, and he was performing austerities. So this is talking about actually Ashtanga Yoga, especially these Snatvanu Savanam, Agni Yatha Vidhi, Abhaksha. This is talking about the Niyama part of the Ashtanga Yoga. Yama Niyama, right? You know the 8 Angas of Ashtanga Yoga. So this is talking about the Niyama part. And Yama part is talked into the remaining part of the verse. Upashantatma Vigataishanaha, you know, detaching oneself completely from family thoughts, and upashantatma, you know, completely becoming controlled in his senses and mind. He is actually following the path of Ashtanga Yoga. So that is talking about Yama and Niyama. Then Asan Pranayam, and further limbs are talked in the next verse. Prabhupada in purport talks about yoga system and how yoga system is needed for actually spiritual upliftment and not just improving material life. Typical favorite topic of Prabhupada whenever yoga discussion comes. He likes to connect it to the point that yoga is not for just making your material life better, but actually it is for detaching oneself from mundane life. It's for connection with the Supreme, you know, union. Yujate iti yoga. Yuj dhatu se yog banta hai. So that means to connect, you know, oneself to the Supreme, like that. He also speaks about especially being controlled in the matter of eating and drinking. Taking that word abhaksha, he is speaking about this. He says that one should be a yogi, and for that one should eat and drink frugally. Otherwise, one will be a bhogi. So yogi and bhogi, these two are opposites. So especially controlling the urges of the tongue is very important for a yogi. Otherwise, one will not be able to make much progress on the uh, path of yoga. Jitasano jitashvasa pratyarita shadindriyah haribhavanaya dhvasta rajas sattva tamo madah. One who has controlled the sitting postures, the yogic asanas, and the breathing process can turn the senses toward the absolute personality of Godhead and thus become immune to the contaminations of the modes of material nature, namely mundane goodness, passion, and ignorance. So in this manner, yama, niyama, then jitasana is talking about asana, jitashvasa is talking about pranayam, pratyarata shadendriya is talking about pratyahar, haribhavanaya dhvasta rajasta sattva mala is talking about dharana and dhyan, you know, meditating on the Supreme Lord and being completely absorbed in the form of Paramatma, you know, meditating on him, Hari Bhavanaya, like that. So Prabhupada continues to explain about Ashtanga Yoga. So his complete detachment is spoken in next 2 verses now by the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Vijnanatmani sanyojya kshetrajne pravilapyatam brahmanyatmanam adhare ghatambaram ivambare. Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence and then merge into the Supreme Being with knowledge of his qualitative oneness as a living entity with the Supreme Brahman. Being freed from the blocked sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual sky. So this is talking about the process of complete detachment. And you must have seen this, this discussion comes at many places in Bhagavatam, where the whole process of creation of material body is reversed. Just as we know the whole process of creation from Kala and, you know, the Pradhana, by effect of Kala and modes being agitated turns into Mahat Tattva, and from Mahat Tattva 3 modes of 3 ahankaras come out, you know, Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic ahankar, and from there the Tanmatras come out, the mind and senses come out, the demigods controlling those senses come out, and all that. So this is the process of creation of material world body. So that creation is exactly reverse now. Means, what will happen now is the ahankar will be amalgamated or put back into mahat tattva. Mahat tattva is put back into jiva is put back into again Brahma is put back into Paramatma, and then further like. What is this putting back, you will say? What is putting back? Actually, what is putting back is actually a process of meditation. It's not that he is taking away the elements of his body and putting them in original elements. No, it is only in terms of meditation. By meditation, one detaches completely himself from the material body. That is compared to putting the elements of the body into the original elements. So this is completely happening by meditation, you understand? So means one says to himself and realizes that I am not the five elements. Then he says that I am not the mind, I am not the intelligence, I am not the Mahatattva, I am not the Ahankara. Like that he goes back. So this is the process of meditation. This is part of the jnana element in Ashtanga Yoga, like that. So this process is also spoken about when Yudhishthir leaves his body in the further chapters in first canto. Also, we hear about Pruthu Maharaj similarly, doing. So it comes at many places in Bhagavatam, like that. So here, because he's following this process of Ashtanga Yoga, so all these elements are there. And in this manner, what he did is he put back his ahankara, atmanam, into vijnanatmani, which is actually mahatattva. And then further, he also put back the whole thing into jiva, kshetradne, and that he put back into brahmani, means Brahman. He put back Brahman into Paramatma, which means that he understood that actually Paramatma is the real source. And Paramatma he put back into Adhare, that is Bhagavan. So in this manner, he understood that actually Bhagavan is the real reality, and Bhagavan is the real controller. In this particular manner, he detached himself from all the aspects of attachment. So this is the process of Ashtanga Yogi, and this meditation is typically a philosophical meditation. So in case you want to know more about it, you can read from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary for the exact understanding. Like that. Prabhupada also does speak about it, in his purport. Dvastamaya guno darko niruddha karanashayah nivartita khilahara aste sthano rivachalah tasyantaraye maivabhu sanyasta khila karmanaha. He will have to suspend all the actions of the senses, even from the outside, and will have to be impervious to interactions of the senses, which are influenced by the modes of material nature. After renouncing all material duties, he must become immovably established beyond all sources of hindrances on the path. So in this manner, he has completely transcended all the modes of material nature, and he has become completely fixed, in his meditation. He has controlled all his senses, and now he is sthano rivachala. He is actually fixed like a pillar, like that. So that's why tasyantarayo maivabhu sanyasta khila karmana. You please, Yudhishthir, you please don't go and disturb him now. Don't be an obstacle in his meditation. Antaraya maivabhu, maevabhu, like that. It is said that you don't become an antaraya, you don't become a hindrance in his meditation, because as soon as he heard about Dhritarashtra, Yudhishthir may want to go and meet him and whatever, please him. So Narad Muni advised Yudhishthir that you please don't go now and don't obstruct his meditation, because he has now become completely detached from all sorts of material duties, like that. So Please don't try to inspire him and bring him back home or like that. What will be his destination? Narad Muni speaks. Sava adyatanad rajan paratah panchame hani kalevaram hasyati swam tacha basmi bhavishyati. O king, he will quit his body most probably on the fifth day from today, and his body will turn to ashes. So Narad Muni was speaking to him and said that after the fifth day from today, he will quit his body, and his body will also turn to ashes. So if you feel you will go for his last rites, there is no need to do that also, because his body will be also burnt by the fire element of his body. You know, he will become a perfect mystic yogi, and generating the fire within his body, he will himself finish off his body and go ahead to his destination, like that. So he will give up his body. There is no need to perform any last rites or anything. दह्यमाने अग्निभिर्देहे पत्युः पत्नी सहोटजे बहिस्थिता पतिं साध्वी तमग्निम् अनुवेक्षति. While outside observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. So when the Sadhvi Gandhari will see the Dhritarashtra like that burning his own body along with the cottage, Sahot Ajay, along with the hermitage that he is inside, he will burn everything. So Gandhari, who will be situated outside the cottage, will see that her husband is departing by burning himself with the Agni. She will also enter that fire and burn herself, because she is a very great sadhvi lady. So she will also accept the Sahamaran or the Sati Maran, and she will depart with her husband, like that. So Prabhupada speaks about this Sati rite, that how the chaste ladies in Vedic times would accept this Sati rite, and but how this Sati rite soon became a very obnoxious affair, in which the criminal was actually not criminal, sorry, where the lady was being forced to undergo Sati, although she is not willing. Actually, Sahamaran has uh, its system in which the whole Sati rite is actually voluntary, because the woman feels a greater separation being without her husband rather than the staying without him. So she is ready to accept the flames of fire rather than the flames of separation from her husband. So that's how they would voluntarily accept the Sati rite. But then this became so degraded that we know at the time of Britishers, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, but I mean, at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there were many cases where the Sati rites the Sati rituals were being performed on a lady, although she is not willing. She was forced in the ditch, and they were being burnt alive, although they were unwilling. So this is a complete distortion from the original Sati rite that was completely voluntary. So it had to be stopped, because this was a torturous, this was a deadly distortion. And we know that that's how many, reformers, they stood against it. And finally, who was that? Lord Ventic. Yeah, he was the one who stopped that Sati ritual, like that. So Prabhupada says that actually this is not, in Kali Yuga, we don't at all, recommend such a thing. This ceremony is stopped now by state law. Vidurastu tadascharya nishamya kuru nandana harsha shoka yutastasmad ganta nirtha nishevakah. Vidura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. So the destination of Dhritarashtra is spoken. So if Yudhishthir feels, I will go and fetch Gandhari, then Gandhari's destination also is told that you don't have to, she will go for Sati rite. Then Yudhishthir, if he says, I will at least bring Vidura, so Narad Muni also tells what is Vidur going to do. Vidura, also hearing about this or rather seeing the departure of Dhritarashtra, he will also be simultaneously afflicted with grief as well as happiness, and then he will go for a pilgrimage from there, you know, because he would be delighted that Dhritarashtra finally came out of his attachments and will achieve liberation. But at the same time, he will be grief-stricken that he will not be actually getting prema bhakti, or he could not become a pure devotee of the Lord because he had been a great offender to Lord's great devotees. So because of that, Vidura did not instruct him in pure devotional service because he understood that that was Lord's desire, that Dhritarashtra being an offender, so he was only instructed in the process of, achieving liberation, Ashtanga Yoga, but not the pure devotional service, that is the Prema Bhakti, like that. So it's opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti that actually Dhritarashtra achieved liberation and not Prema Bhakti. So that was the reason why Vidura felt simultaneously grief and delight both. Last verse. इत्युक्त्वाधारुहत् स्वर्गं नारदः सह तुम्बुरुः युधिष्ठिरो वचस्तस्य रथीकृत्वा जहात् शुचः. Having spoken thus, the great sage Narada, along with his veena, ascended into outer space. Yudhishthira kept his instruction in his heart and so was able to get rid of all lamentations. So, in this manner, hearing this from Narad Muni, Yudhishthira was completely pacified and gave up his lamentation. And Narad also, along with Tumburu Gandharva, he went back to his celestial abode. He continued his travels. So, thus Narad Muni pacified Yudhishthira Maharaj. Prabhupada says in purport that Sri Naradji is an eternal spaceman, transcendental spaceman or eternal spaceman. And because of his association only, we see that everybody can be freed from lamentation, freed from all the ignorance like that, you know. So Narad Muni's great mercy, and Narad Muni's being an independent personality to give his darshan, that is also spoken by Prabhupada like that, you know? So he says that, Prabhupada says that one who wants to see great souls like Narad Muni, you know, should be very pious, just like Maharaj Yudhishthir was, and that's how they can receive the association of great souls. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. So this is how we also come to an end of our this particular unit. So before I take the questions, I just wish to thank all of you for your patient listening all these sessions, and any feedback that you want to give so that I can be benefited is most welcome. I just want to clarify to you that the particular style in which I explain Srimad Bhagavatam may generate a feeling in some of you that I don't so much discuss the personal application part, or wherever it's possible, Prabhupada has discussed significantly, then I discuss. But in general, my effort in explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam has always been to give you the clear understanding of the text and to explain the historical context and the ideas that Prabhupada takes from various acharyas, explanations of the verses from acharyas and all that. Because I am sure personal application is something which many devotees speak, and there is no dearth of that kind of material on Bhagavatam. But we also need to understand the texts in their own light very clearly, and understand the proper context, the proper ideas that are presented in the text. So in my presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam, I do try for that. And if it has left some people with the feeling that okay, we could have discussed more personal application or like that, so I just wish that I clarify it in that manner, because once you understand the text very nicely, what that text stands for, does it stand for pure devotional service or mixed devotional service, or what is the exact feeling that is conveyed in the text, you can always draw a lot of personal application around it, you know. But if we don't understand the text properly and the context of that particular text, then it may so happen that we might rush into drawing some personal applications which are completely based upon erroneous conclusion of the text. I mean, the text is talking about pure devotional service, you apply it in sadhana level, or that is talking about bhava bhakti, you apply it in sadhan bhakti. So you understand, that's why it's very important that first and foremost that any text should be understood in its complete light. You know, what are acharyas saying on this, what is Prabhupada saying on this, and then once you understand the text very thoroughly, then you could always draw a lot of personal application because you are thorough with what the text is presenting, like that, you know. So in my presentation, I do take that textual analysis, words analysis, and the acharyas imports, Prabhupada's ideas, where they're stemming from, you know, what does Prabhupada mean when he says a particular thing. So I more revolve around those ideas, and that is my effort in presenting Srimad Bhagavatam. So I hope and wish that at least in some way it is useful to all of you, like that. Fine. So I thank you all for the wonderful patient hearing that you have done, even the extra session that I took, you know, and thank you for that. So with this, I would take some questions which are there. In case any of you have to leave because of service, you may kindly proceed also. Yes. Bhagavatam speaks about response of Yudhishthir when Dhritarashtra left. What was the reaction of Parikshit when Pandavas left? This Parikshit's reaction when Pandavas left is not even spoken in Mahabharata, because this is in the last part, Swargarohan Parva, and as far as I remember, even there also Parikshit's reaction is not spoken. You know? So, I mean, at least in Mahabharata as well as in Bhagavatam, you don't hear much about reaction of Parikshit, because naturally Parikshit was at least 36 years old when Pandavas are leaving, and his reaction, what it should be, could be an interesting thing to know, but it's not there in Mahabharata as well as in Bhagavatam. So if it's there in some other Puran like Matsya Puran or like that, maybe it's a matter of research we should do. Is there any example of chaste lady who did not undergo sati upon husband's death, only to continue practicing devotion in this world? Chaste lady who did not undergo sati upon husband's death, only to continue practicing devotion in this world. So usually chaste ladies who are also not undergoing sati, we see that they have children to take care of, right? They have either an infant like Uttara, she was having child in the womb, so she did not undergo sati, or Devi Kunti, because she had Pandavas to take care of. So the question is there any example where somebody is undergoing sati just to practice devotional service, not undergoing sati? Interesting. I can find out good questions from Gaur Lila Prabhu. Nothing comes to my mind immediately. Whatever examples come to my mind, they are all either they undergo sati, or they are staying back with the worldly reason of also those particular things like having a child, something like that. So if I get an example, I will let you know. Srila Prabhupada writes in purport that he was performing austerities and meditating on Lord Hari. So Dhritarashtra went where after liberation? Brahma Jyoti or some Vaikuntha planet? Yes. So you see, I was reading for this and trying to understand what is that liberation of Dhritarashtra exactly. Because Prabhupada also uses the word liberation, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says mukti. He says mukti, and natu, he says prema bhakti, like that. So, see, I mean, I just don't want to make a guess on this because uh, if you understand the whole system of liberation, Ashtang Yoga can also take to a person to Sayujya Moksha, or Ashtang Yoga can lead to Salokyadi Moksha, the other four mokshas. So if you see, if the worshipper has this idea that in his meditation, the dharana can be on Lord Hari also. But if he doesn't have loving feelings towards Lord Hari, such a person is more attached to Brahman conception. He can achieve Sayujya Moksha, actually, although doing Ashtang Yoga, because Ashtang Yoga's Hari Dharana is his sadhana and not the sadhya. So that is one aspect of Ashtanga Yoga. While another aspect of Ashtanga Yoga in which person is also meditating upon the Lord Hari, Hari Dharana is also there with a pleasing, loving attitude towards Hari as a sadhya. So in such cases, the person achieves actually other mokshas like Salokyadi mokshas, and he goes back to the spiritual world. I mean Vaikuntha. He achieved Shantarati, in all those mokshas, four kinds of mokshas. So when it comes to Dhritarashtra, it is said that Hari Dharanaya, that is surely spoken. But did he achieve Salokyadi moksha or did he achieve Sayujya moksha? This is not clearly spoken by anybody. I mean, either Vishwanath Chakravarti or Prabhupada or anybody in the statement. Or probably they have spoken in a way, but we have not understood. I have not understood. So I have written this to my friends at Shastrika Advisory Council. So, if with me, I will answer this question about exact what was the liberation out of 5 liberation that he achieved. See, it is sure that Prema Bhakti is not achieved because he was an offender. But did he achieve the 4 kinds of mokshas, or did he achieve Sayujya, which is the 5th kind of moksha? Because usually speaking, uh, Ashtang Yoga qualifies oneself to achieve either of this. It could be either of this, like that. So this discussion needs little more deeper analysis, probably based on Mahabharata or like that. So I can then answer. In 1:12:24, uh, Srila Prabhupada writes that Rantidev, although Kshatriya by birth, never ate flesh. Do devotee Kshatriyas allowed to eat flesh? Okay. Actually, a Kshatriya, Mahabharata speaks about this. A Kshatriya was allowed to eat meat under very rare occasions. Like a Kshatriya was allowed to eat meat when in the course of war or aftermath of war, a Kshatriya could be forlorn, secluded, and he could be just wandering or roaming in a deserted land, or sometimes on a hunt. He could be in a forest, and that's how he could be very hungry and thirsty. And at such point, it was the case that the Kshatriya may need to survive by eating meat. So the system of Kshatra Dharma, it allowed Kshatriyas to eat meat under such pretexts. When it comes to Vaishnava kings, but Vaishnava Kshatriyas, they never ever eat meat. Irrespective of the Kshatra Dharma, the Vaishnava Dharma takes over. And that's why a Vaishnava, whether it is a Shudra Vaishnava, so to say externally, Vaishya Vaishnava or Kshatra Vaishnava or Brahman Vaishnava, none of them can eat meat anytime. So that's the case even with Pandavas. Although they were Kshatriyas and they had great hardships in terms of their lives. But then it is I mean, even Bhima or anybody, Mahabharata clearly states that they never ate meat, because a Vaishnava is never allowed to eat meat, even a Vaishnava Kshatriya for that matter, like that. So that's the point. Devotee Kshatriyas can never be allowed to eat flesh. Lord Kapila explains in third canto that yogi must meditate on the Supreme Lord Vishnu and meditate on different limbs of the Lord. So is there any other aspect of meditation apart from Supreme Lord in Ashtanga Yoga given in the scriptures? Oh yes, actually, Prabhu, Ashtanga Yoga system has quite an elaborate system. You will have to know there is something called as Dharanashraya, and this Dharanashraya means object of meditation. It's different actually. It has stages. So initial stages, the object of meditation could be different. It need not be Supreme Lord Vishnu. But in the higher stages, the aspect of meditation gets focused on Lord Vishnu, you know. So even in Lord Vishnu's aspect of meditation on Lord Vishnu, there is actually, see, I mean, what I'm trying to say is there could be meditation on Brahma, you know. There could be meditation on Omkar there, and then there is also meditation on Lord Vishnu, limb to limb, limb by limb, like that. But these dharnashrayas also have a gradation. Which dharnashraya is considered higher, which is highest. So Lord Vishnu and meditating on Lord Vishnu limb by limb is considered highest dharnashraya. You understand? So that's the system in yoga, also Ashtanga Yoga. In fact, Ashtanga Yoga itself has quite an elaborate system. Patanjali explains this, and in his Yoga Sutras, there is also something called as Asampradnyat Samadhi and Sampradnyat Samadhi. So even Samadhi has gradations within the system of Ashtanga Yoga, like that. So yes, Ashtanga Yoga can have other aspect of meditation. It can have other aspects of meditation. Like they can meditate on Brahma, they can meditate on Omkar, they can in fact, initial aspects of meditation at the time of asana and pranayam could be even simpler objects. You know, it could be even meditating on some flame or light or like that. But technically speaking, it's just a very beginning kind of stage. Ashtanga Yoga actually would mean that you have a proper dharnashraya, that is Lord Vishnu, that manner. One more question. Arjuna was in exile, and in 13th year, he was teaching Uttara the dancing. But he, instead of marrying her, he told to marry Abhimanyu. So where was Abhimanyu during exile? Abhimanyu was son of Subhadra. So where was Subhadra when the Pandavas were in exile? Where was Subhadra? See, Subhadra was surely in the palace. She was not there in the forest. But so I mean, I might have to check this because this is from Mahabharata. So Abhimanyu was also not staying with them in the forest. So it appears that logically he should be there in the Hastinapur itself. You know, he should be there in the palace, like that. But these are questions from Mahabharata, so maybe we can find out. We can check in Mahabharata, like that. But the five Pandavas and the Draupadi, Kunti, these were the personalities who were in forest, along with some more dear relatives of them who accompanied, like Dhaumya and all. So that's all I think we have now. Yes, so I think that's all we have. So many of you whose questions, you know, what I want to tell is also that, yeah, sometimes you ask a lot of questions based on tikas or based on Mahabharata. So, I mean, sometimes based on Mahabharata, some things I also have to research naturally, because all the aspects of Mahabharata The way they are covered in verse by verse Mahabharat, all 1,10,000 verses, they are not covered in the typical summary studies of Mahabharat. So sometimes you have to read those original versions to get the exact answers like that. They are not there in the shortened version. So in case I don't get some answers and all, you could write back to me personally on my ID, and I would try to answer those questions, because naturally not everything is known to us. I mean, nobody knows. Nahi sarvaha sarvam janati, right? Not everybody can know everything. And what to speak of us who are just trying to understand little bit in more deeper things by reading tikas and all that. So many times some questions come to me. I do also research and find out and then answer it back. I also get a lot of questions from other senior devotees, and I keep on working on finding those answers and giving them back. So sometimes when you have a question, I'm not able to answer it immediately. So don't feel bad for it, because I am just loaded with also answering questions by many others who, I mean, who are, many of them are senior devotees who ask certain questions based on Tika. So I also have to find them out like that. But as I get time, I can try to find those answers, and I can write back to you like that. Fine, Prabhu. So in case of any other questions or anything, you may write back to me. And I thank you all very much for this wonderful discussions that we had on these 4 chapters of Bhagavatam. Now, after Janmashtami, after Radhashtami, probably there will be the next unit also, and that will be the remaining 6 chapters of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So I wish you all the best for all your studies in Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nithai Gaur Premanande.